She was alone at the wedding, until a stranger whispered 7 words that changed everything. She was sitting alone at her cousin's wedding when a stranger leaned over and whispered, "Pretend you're with me just for tonight." Those 7 words would change everything. Before we dive into this story, drop a comment below. Where are you watching from? And when we reach the end, I want you to rate this story from 0 to 10. Let's begin. The ballroom of the Grand Meridian Hotel in Chicago sparkled like a jewelry box turned inside out. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across silk-draped tables, while a jazz quartet filled the air with honeyed melodies. Madison Brooks sat at table 12, nursing her 3rd glass of champagne and trying to become invisible. Her emerald dress, borrowed from her roommate, felt like armor that wasn't quite thick enough. Around her, couples swayed on the dance floor, relatives gossiped at neighboring tables, and her cousin Isabel, the bride, glowed like a supernova in her designer gown. Still flying solo, Madison. Her Aunt Patricia's voice cut through the music like a rusty knife. "You know, Isabel's younger than you by 2 years." Madison forced a smile. "Just haven't found the right person yet, Aunt Pat." "Well, you're not getting any younger." 32 isn't exactly prime real estate in the dating market. Before Madison could craft a response that wouldn't get her disinvited from future family gatherings, a presence materialized beside her chair. Someone sat down with the confidence of belonging there, though she'd never seen him before. "Sorry I'm late, sweetheart." A deep voice, smooth as aged whiskey, spoke directly to her. Traffic was murder. Madison turned to find a man in a charcoal suit that fit him like it had been painted on. Dark hair, slightly tousled, jaw sharp enough to cut glass. And eyes, God, those eyes, the color of steel after rain. He leaned closer, his cologne a subtle blend of cedar and something dangerous. His breath warmed her ear as he whispered, "Pretend you're with me, just for tonight. Trust me, you'll thank me later." Madison's brain short-circuited. What? But he was already extending his hand to Aunt Patricia, that $1,000,000 smile never wavering. "Ryan Mitchell, Madison's told me so much about you." Patricia's eyes went wide, her gaze darting between them. "Madison never mentioned—" "We've been keeping things quiet," Ryan said smoothly, his hand finding Madison's shoulder in a gesture so natural it made her skin tingle. "You know how it is in the early stages." Didn't want to jinx anything. Madison's journalist instincts, honed from 5 years at the Chicago Tribune, kicked in. Play along now, investigate later. She leaned into his touch, trying to ignore how right it felt. "Ryan's been traveling for work," she improvised, her voice steadier than her pulse. "This is actually our first family event together." "What do you do, Ryan?" Patricia asked, her tone shifting from condescending to curious. "A private equity," he answered without missing a beat. "Mostly tech startups. Just closed a deal in Singapore last week." Madison bit back a laugh. Of course he'd choose something that sounded impressive but vague enough to avoid follow-up questions. She studied him from the corner of her eye. The easy confidence, the way he handled Patricia's interrogation, like he'd been preparing for it all his life. Who was this man? And why was he rescuing her from social humiliation? "We should dance," Ryan announced suddenly, standing and offering Madison his hand. "They're playing our song." Madison didn't have their song, because they'd met exactly 3 minutes ago, but she took his hand anyway. His fingers were warm, calloused in places that suggested he did more than shuffle papers for a living. On the dance floor, he pulled her close, not inappropriately so, but enough that she could feel the solid warmth of him through his suit. "Thank you," she murmured against his shoulder. "But who are you really?" "Someone who hates seeing beautiful women tortured by relatives at weddings." His hand pressed gently against the small of her back, guiding her through a simple waltz. Also, someone who needs a favor in return. There it was. Madison pulled back slightly to look at his face. What kind of favor? See that woman by the bar? Red dress. Looks like she could kill someone with her cheekbones. Madison followed his gaze to a stunning brunette who was indeed watching them with laser focus. Ex-girlfriend? Ex-fiancée, Victoria Sinclair. She's here with her new boyfriend, who happens to be my former business partner, and she's been trying to make me jealous all evening. So you're using me to make her jealous back. I'm using us to maintain my dignity, he corrected, spinning her gracefully. And you're using me to avoid becoming your aunt's next renovation project. Seems fair. Madison couldn't argue with that logic. Fine, but if we're doing this, we need a story. How did we meet? Coffee shop incident, Ryan said immediately. You spilled a latte on my laptop. Felt so bad you insisted on buying me dinner. Why would I spill coffee on a stranger's laptop? Because you were reading while walking and ran right into me. Madison laughed despite herself. That's actually believable. I've done that before. I know. You had an article about city corruption pulled up on your phone. Very focused expression. Tiny furrow right here. He touched the space between her eyebrows with one finger. The gesture strangely intimate. She froze. You've been watching me. I've been at this wedding for 2 hours, Madison. You're the only person here who looks as miserable as I feel. Plus, he spun her again. You're the only one who brought actual work to a wedding reception. I saw you typing notes during the ceremony. Heat crept up her neck. It was a really important story lead. Must be, if you're working on a Saturday night in that dress. His eyes swept over her appreciatively, but not in a way that made her feel objectified. More like admired. Green's definitely your color. Before Madison could process the compliment, the song ended, but Ryan didn't let go. Instead, he leaned close again. Fair warning, Victoria's coming over. Whatever happens, just follow my lead. Ryan. The voice was pure silk over steel. Victoria Sinclair glided toward them, her boyfriend, a Ken doll in an expensive suit, trailing behind. I didn't expect to see you here. Isabel's a client, Ryan said easily, his arm sliding around Madison's waist. Madison and I wouldn't miss her big day. Victoria's perfectly sculpted eyebrow arched. Madison, how unexpected. I didn't think Ryan dated outside his usual circle. The insult was subtle, but sharp. Madison felt Ryan tense beside her, but before he could respond, she stepped forward with her brightest smile. You must be Victoria. Ryan's mentioned you. She paused just long enough to be meaningful. Briefly, Victoria's smile turned brittle. And you are? Madison Brooks. Investigative journalist with the Tribune. She let her professional title hang in the air like a weapon. I'm actually working on a fascinating piece about shell companies and tax evasion in private equity. You wouldn't happen to know anything about the Sinclair Foundation's offshore accounts, would you? The color drained from Victoria's face. What? Oh, just professional curiosity. Madison's smile never wavered. Ryan's been so helpful explaining the legitimate side of the business. It's fascinating how easy it is to spot the fraudulent operations once you know what to look for. Victoria grabbed her boyfriend's arm. We should go. Bradley now. They retreated so fast they nearly knocked over a waiter. Ryan stared at Madison with something between awe and amusement. That was bitchy. Brilliant. He laughed, the sound rich and genuine. Do you actually have dirt on the Sinclair Foundation? Every journalist in Chicago knows they're dirty. I just haven't proven it yet. She grinned up at him. But she doesn't know that. Remind me never to get on your bad side. They were interrupted by the DJ announcing the father-daughter dance. Madison watched her uncle twirl Isabel around the floor, something tightening in her chest. Her own father had passed 3 years ago. These family moments always hit different now. "You okay?" Ryan's voice was gentler than before. "Fine." She blinked rapidly. "Just weddings, you know." He studied her for a moment, then took her hand. "Come on, let's get some air." The hotel's rooftop terrace was strung with fairy lights, Chicago's skyline glittering beyond. The October air was crisp, but not cold, carrying hints of autumn and distant rain. Better," Ryan asked, shrugging out of his jacket and draping it over her shoulders before she could protest. "Yeah." She pulled the jacket closer, inhaling that cedar scent. "Thanks for everything tonight. You didn't have to do that." "Honestly, you were doing me a favor too." He leaned against the railing, looking out at the city. Victoria showing up with Bradley. I thought I was over it, but seeing them together still stung. "How long were you together?" 3 years. Engaged for 6 months before I found them together in our apartment. His jaw tightened. "In our bed." Ouch. "Yeah, but the real kicker. They'd been stealing clients from my firm for months, setting up their own company using my contacts and strategies." Madison whistled low. "That's cold. That's Victoria." He turned to face her, his expression shifting. "What about you? Why's a beautiful, successful woman sitting alone at a wedding?" "Because I choose to be alone," she said firmly. "My last relationship ended when I discovered my ex was using my press credentials to get information for insider trading." Jesus. "Yeah. Trust issues don't even begin to cover it." She laughed bitterly. "Hence why I'm married to my job now." "Stories don't lie to you." "No, they just keep you up all night and never call you back." Despite herself, Madison laughed, speaking from experience. "I built my company from nothing. 60-hour weeks minimum. Lost friends, relationships, missed every holiday for 3 years straight." He rubbed his neck. "Success is a jealous mistress." They stood in comfortable silence, the party noise muffled below them. Madison found herself studying his profile, the strong lines of his face softened by the fairy lights, the way his hair curled slightly at his collar. "We should probably go back," she said reluctantly. "People will wonder where we went." "Let them wonder." But he pushed off from the railing anyway. "Though we should probably get our story straight. How long have we been dating?" 3 months, Madison said immediately. "Long enough to be serious, not so long that my family would be hurt I didn't mention you." "Smart. What's my favorite food?" "Thai. You always order too spicy and pretend it doesn't burn." He grinned. "What's yours?" "Italian. Specifically, the carbonara from Antonio's on North Ave." "That's very specific." "It's very good carbonara." They made their way back to the ballroom, where the party had shifted into full celebration mode. The older relatives had either left or relocated to quieter corners, and the dance floor was packed with Isabel's friends. "Madison!" Her cousin appeared, slightly tipsy and glowing with newlywed bliss. "Aunt Pat told me you've been hiding this gorgeous man. How could you not tell me?" "I wanted today to be about you," Madison said smoothly, hugging her cousin. "Ryan, this is Isabel." "The beautiful bride." Ryan kissed Isabel's hand with old-fashioned charm. "Congratulations. It's a lovely wedding." "Dance with me," Isabel demanded, then immediately corrected. "Actually, both of you dance. I want to see you two together. You look like a magazine couple." Before either could protest, Isabel had shoved them onto the dance floor as a slow song began. This time, Ryan pulled Madison properly close, one hand splayed across her back, the other holding hers. "Magazine couple," he murmured in her ear. "She's drunk. Or honest." Madison's breath caught. There was something different in his voice now, something that made her hyper-aware of every point where their bodies touched. "Ryan, I know we just met," he said quietly. "And this whole thing is supposed to be pretend. But dancing with you feels real," she finished. He pulled back enough to look at her face. Those storm-gray eyes held a question she wasn't sure she was ready to answer. The song ended, but this time it was Madison who didn't let go. Something was happening here, something that had nothing to do with avoiding nosy relatives or making exes jealous. "Get a room!" someone shouted, breaking the spell. They separated, laughing awkwardly. Madison's face burned, but Ryan just looked thoughtful. The rest of the reception passed in a blur. They played their parts perfectly, Ryan charming her relatives, Madison deflecting Victoria's attempts to corner them again. They shared cake. Ryan fed her a bite, making her laugh when he deliberately missed and got frosting on her nose. Caught the bouquet and garter. Madison protested that it was rigged when Isabel threw it directly at her, and slow danced to 3 more songs. By the time the evening wound down, Madison had almost forgotten it was all an act. "Share a ride?" Ryan asked, as they collected their things. Madison hesitated. The smart thing would be to say goodbye now, thank him for the evening, and never see him again. But smart had gotten her nowhere but alone at her cousin's wedding. "Sure." In the back of the Uber, they sat close, but not touching, the city lights sliding past the windows. Madison still wore his jacket, and she wondered if he'd ask for it back. "This is me," she said as they pulled up to her brownstone in Lincoln Park. Ryan got out with her, because of course he had those kind of manners. "Thank you," she said, starting to shrug off his jacket. "Keep it." He caught her hands. "Actually, I have a confession." Her heart stuttered. What kind of confession? This wasn't entirely random. "Choosing you, I mean." "What do you mean?" He took a breath. "I've seen you before." "At the Starbucks on LaSalle. You're there every morning at 7:15, ordering a large cold brew with an extra shot. You always sit in the corner booth, laptop out, completely absorbed in whatever you're working on." Madison stared at him. "You've been watching me." "Not in a creepy way. I'm there every morning, too. Have been for months." "You've spilled coffee on me twice, actually, though you never noticed because you were so focused on your work. Why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because you looked like you were solving the world's problems, and I didn't want to interrupt." He stepped closer. "But tonight, seeing you there alone, looking miserable, I couldn't just watch anymore. So this whole thing was real, at least for me." His hand came up to cup her cheek. "Oh, the ex-fiancé, the needing a fake date, all true, but picking you? That wasn't random, Madison. She should be creeped out. She should be running inside and deadbolting the door. Instead, she found herself leaning into his touch. "This is crazy," she whispered. "Completely. I don't even know your last name. Mitchell, Ryan James Mitchell. I own Apex Ventures. I have a dog named Chester. I'm allergic to shellfish. I run 5 miles every morning, and yes, I actually do order Thai food too spicy." He smiled. "What else do you want to know?" "Everything," she admitted, then immediately wanted to take it back. But Ryan's smile widened. "How about we start with coffee tomorrow morning?" 7:15. Our usual place. I'll even let you spill something on me if it makes you feel more comfortable. Despite everything, her trust issues, her workaholic tendencies, her fear of getting hurt again, Madison laughed. "It's a date." She paused. "A real one this time?" "The realist." He leaned in and kissed her cheek, the touch so gentle it made her chest ache. Then he was walking backward toward the waiting Uber, that dangerous smile still in place. "Good night, Madison Brooks." "Good night, Ryan Mitchell." She waited until the car disappeared before going inside, his jacket still wrapped around her shoulders. In her apartment, She found her roommate, Claire, waiting with a glass of wine and raised eyebrows. "That's not your jacket." "No," Madison agreed, accepting the wine. "It's not. And that smile is definitely not your usual, survived another family wedding of face. Also no. Spill. Everything. Now." So Madison did, curled up on their second-hand couch, still wearing the emerald dress and Ryan's jacket. Claire listened with increasing amazement. "This is like a movie," she said when Madison finished. "The mysterious stranger, the fake relationship, the real feelings. Madison, this is incredible. This is insane." "Those aren't mutually exclusive," Claire studied her. "You're going to see him again." It wasn't a question. "I'm going to see him again," Madison confirmed, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw storm gray ones looking back, felt phantom hands on her waist, guiding her through a dance, heard that whiskey voice saying her name like a promise. At 3 a.m., she gave up and opened her laptop. If she was really doing this, really going to have coffee with Ryan Mitchell, she needed to know who he was beyond the charming stranger role. What she found made her whistle low. Ryan hadn't been modest. Apex Ventures was one of Chicago's fastest-growing equity firms. He'd built it from nothing at 25, now at 34. He was worth... She blinked at the number. Multiple millions. But more interesting were the details. He served on 3 non-profit boards, funded a scholarship program for underprivileged kids, had been named one of Chicago's most eligible bachelors 3 years running until, she checked the date, right around when Victoria would have happened. There were photos from various events. Ryan in a tux at a charity gala. Ryan laughing with business partners. Ryan and, her stomach clenched, Victoria, looking like they'd been carved from marble specifically to match each other. Madison closed the laptop. This was dangerous territory. Ryan Mitchell wasn't just some random wedding crasher. He was successful, wealthy, and way out of her league. Plus, she'd just admitted she had trust issues. And here she was, falling for another smooth-talking man with secrets. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Can't sleep either." Ryan. Before she could overthink it, she typed back. "How did you get my number?" "You gave it to me." "When you were writing it down for your cousin. I have an excellent memory." "That's either impressive or creepy." "I prefer to think of it as detail-oriented. What's keeping you up?" Madison stared at the cursor blinking. Truth or deflection? Truth. "Googling you. You're rich. Guilty. Does that change things?" "Everything. Nothing. I don't know." Her phone rang, actually rang. Who called at 3 a.m.? "This seemed like a conversation that needed voices," Ryan said when she answered. "You know normal people sleep at night, right? Normal people don't meet their fake girlfriend at a wedding and then spend the whole night thinking about her." Madison's heart did something acrobatic in her chest. "Ryan, I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But Madison, I haven't felt like this honestly, ever. Not even with Victoria. You don't know me. I know you bite your lip when you're thinking. I know you care more about stories than money, or you wouldn't be driving a 10-year-old Honda while breaking huge corruption cases. I know you loved your dad and miss him at family events. I know you're loyal, funny, and brave enough to threaten Victoria Sinclair with fictional fraud charges. They weren't entirely fictional," he laughed, the sound warm through the phone. "See? That. You're unexpected, Madison."
He was nervous.
I've been surrounded by the expected my whole life.
Genuinely nervous,
people who want
like
what
a
I can
teenager
give
on his
them,
first date.
who see dollar
Not like
signs
the CEO
before they
of a
see me.
multi-billion-dollar company who regularly
And
made
you think
decisions
I'm
that
different.
affected thousands of lives.
I think you
When
forgot
Olivia
I
walked
existed
in,
the moment you thought I
Alexander
had
forgot
dirt
how
on the
to breathe
Sinclair
for a moment.
Foundation.
She
Your
was
whole
wearing a
face
simple
lit up.
blue dress that hugged her
was
curves. her dark
refreshing.
hair falling in soft
Madison
waves around
curled
her
deeper
shoulders.
into her couch,
She'd applied
pulling
a
his
touch of
jacket
makeup,
tighter.
nothing dramatic, just
It was
enough to
still warm,
highlight her
somehow.
natural beauty.
Or maybe that
Alexander
was just
stood
her
as she
imagination.
approached the table.
"This
a
is moving
gesture that
really
seemed to
fast,"
surprise
she said
and please
softly.
her. "You look
"We
beautiful,"
can slow down.
he said
Coffee
as she
tomorrow,
sat down.
today, technically,
Faint blush
can
colored
just be
Olivia's
coffee.
cheeks.
No pressure.
"Thank you,"
No
she
expectations.
replied. "You look different too."
Just two
More
people who
relaxed.
met at a wedding and
"I
pretended
am,"
to date.
Alexander admitted.
Just two people who
"It's
might
nice
want
to have
to
a
stop
night away from
pretending.
being
The
Alexander
words hung
Pierce,
in the air,
CEO,
delicate
and
as
just
spun
be
glass.
Alexander. The waiter came to take
7:15,
their drink
Madison
orders.
said finally.
A glass of
"Don't
house
be
red
late."
for Olivia.
Wouldn't dream
the
of
same
it.
for Alexander, though he
Good
usually
night,
drank much
Madison.
more expensive wines.
Good night,
So,
Ryan.
Olivia
This
said
time,
after the waiter
she
left.
did sleep.
"You've heard
His
a lot
jacket
about
still
me.
wrapped around
3
her,
jobs,
smelling
a
of
son,
cedar
a
and
dream of opening a
possibilities.
cafe someday.
Morning
But I
came
don't
too
know much
soon,
about you.
and not soon
Not the
enough.
real you, anyway."
Madison
Alexander
changed
leaned back
outfits
in his
3
chair.
times before
"What
Claire
would you like
threatened
to
to
know?
lock her in the bathroom
Where did
if
you
she
come
didn't just
from?"
pick something.
Olivia asked.
"It's
"Before
coffee
you were Alexander
said.
Pierce, CEO?"
that you've
It
apparently
was a
been
good
having near
question,
each other for
and one
months.
that few people bothered to ask
But now it's
anymore.
intentional coffee.
"I grew up in a small
All
town
coffee
in Ohio,"
is intentional.
Alexander said. "My
Nobody
father was a
accidentally
high
drinks
school
coffee."
math teacher, my mother
Madison
a nurse.
threw a pillow
We
at her
weren't
and
poor,
settled on
but we
jeans
weren't
and a
wealthy
soft sweater.
either. Just
Casual but
average
put together.
middle-class Americans.
She absolutely
And how
did
did you
not
get from
spend
there to
extra
here?
time on her
Olivia
makeup.
asked, genuinely
At 7:10,
curious.
she walked into the
Alexander told her
Starbucks
about
on
a
LaSalle.
scholarship to MIT,
Ryan was already
about
there.
the algorithm
In
he
the corner
developed in his
booth she'd
dorm
never
room that became
realized
the
was across
foundation
from
for Pierce
hers.
Innovations.
He
About
looked
the
up from
early
his
days of
phone,
the company when
and
he
that
worked 20
smile,
hour days and slept on a
God,
couch in
that
his tiny
smile
office.
should require a
It
warning
wasn't all
label.
skill,
"You're
he
early,"
admitted.
he said,
There was a lot of
standing
luck
as she
involved
approached.
too. Being in the right place
"So are
at
you.
the right time.
I've been here
meeting
since
the right
6:30.
people."
That's
Olivia
excessive.
listened intently,
That's nervous."
asking thoughtful
The admission
questions.
made something in
As
her
they
chest
moved on to
loosen.
their main courses.
Ryan Mitchell,
Spaghetti
millionaire
carbonara for her,
entrepreneur, was
lasagna for
nervous
him.
about coffee with her.
Alexander found
Cold
himself
brew
talking
with an
about
extra
things
shot,
he rarely discussed
he
with
asked.
anyone.
"You really
His
have been
estrangement
paying
from his parents,
attention."
who couldn't
They
understand his
ordered.
drive for
She
success.
noted he got a simple
His
black
brief,
coffee,
failed
not the
marriage to a
complicated
woman who loved
monstrosity
his
she'd
money more than
expected,
him.
and
His
settled
growing
into what she now
disillusionment with the
realized
world
had
he
been their
worked so
booze
hard to
all
join.
along.
"Sometimes I think about selling everything and
They'd
starting
been
over
having
somewhere
parallel
new,
mornings for months
he
without
confessed.
ever intersecting.
Somewhere where no one knows
"So,"
who
Ryan
Alexander
said,
Pierce is.
"tell me something
"What
that
stops
wasn't
you?"
on Google."
Olivia asked.
"You Googled me too."
Alexander considered
"Of
the
course.
question.
Your investigation into the
"Responsibility,
mayor's
I
office last year
suppose.
was brilliant,
I
by the
employ
way."
thousands of people.
Madison
Their
flushed with
livelihoods
pleasure.
depend
That
on
story
me.
had won her
And
an
then there's
award.
the fact that
But
I
hearing
don't know
Ryan's
who I'd
praise
be
felt
without all
different
of this.
somehow.
It's been my
Something
identity
not on
for so
Google.
long. Olivia
thought.
nodded thoughtfully.
"I wanted
I
to be a
understand
novelist
that.
before I became
When
a
Jamie's
journalist."
father left,
What
I had
changed?
to rebuild my entire
Truth
identity.
became more interesting
I
than
went
fiction.
from being a partner,
Plus,
a culinary
student
student
loans.
with dreams,
He laughed.
to being a single
Practical.
mother with
"Your
responsibilities
turn.
bigger than myself.
Something Google doesn't
It was
know."
terrifying. "How
Ryan
did you do
considered.
it?" Alexander
"I almost walked
asked.
away from everything
"How
last
did you
year.
find yourself
After
again?"
Victoria, after
"I'm
the
still
betrayal,
finding myself,"
I came this close to
Olivia
selling the
said
company
with
and
a small
disappearing.
smile. "But having
What stopped
Jamie
you?"
helped.
Spite.
He needed me to be
Initially.
strong, so I had to figure
He
out how
grinned
to be strong.
self-deprecatingly.
He's the best
"The
thing that
best
ever happened
revenge
to
is
me,
massive success.
even though our life
right?
isn't easy."
But then,
As the evening
I don't
progressed,
know.
their conversation
realized
flowed
I actually
naturally
like
from
what I
topic to
do.
topic.
not the money,
Books
though
they'd
that's
read,
nice,
places they
but
traveled
building
or
something,
hoped to travel,
creating
dreams
opportunities,
they pursued and abandoned.
the scholarship
Despite
program.
the vast differences in their
You
circumstances,
saw that?
Alexander was
journalist.
struck by
I
how
see
much they had
everything.
in common at a fundamental
It's for
level.
kids like my
When the
brother
check
would have
came,
been, Ryan
Olivia
said
reached
quietly.
for her purse.
He died when he
but
was
Alexander
12,
gently stopped
leukemia.
her. "Please let
But
me get
before he
this,"
got sick,
he said.
he was brilliant.
Olivia hesitated
Wanted to be
before
an
nodding.
engineer.
"Thank you," she said.
The
"But
scholarship
next
sends
time,
5
it's
kids
on
to
me.
college every
Next
year in
time."
his name.
Alexander echoed,
Madison reached across
unable
the
to
table,
hide his pleasure
covering his
at the
hand with
prospect.
hers.
Olivia's
"That's
smile
beautiful,
was both shy
Ryan."
and confident.
He turned
"If
his
you want
hand
there
over,
to be a next
interlacing
time,"
their
she
fingers.
said.
"So
"I
are
do,"
you."
Alexander
That's a
replied
terrible
without
line.
hesitation. "Very
But
much."
true.
As they left the restaurant,
They sat
the
there,
night air was
hands
cool
linked
and clear.
over terrible
Alexander
coffee shop
walked
wood,
Olivia to her
and
car,
Madison felt
a
something
well-maintained
slot
but
into
older
place.
model Honda. "I had a wonderful time tonight,"
Something that had been
he said
missing
as
since
they
long
stood
before
beside
her
her
ex's
car.
betrayal.
So did I,
Maybe something
Olivia
that had
replied.
always been missing.
It wasn't what I expected.
I should warn you,
What did you
she said.
expect?
I'm terrible at
Alexander
relationships.
asked. Olivia considered the question.
I work too
I
much.
thought you might be
I forget to
different
eat when I'm
outside
on a
of work.
story.
Less
And I have a
genuine,
bad habit
maybe.
of interrogating
More
people's
like the
friends
image
at
I've
parties.
seen in magazines.
I should warn you,
And
he
you're
countered.
not. She
I'm
said
overly
simply.
protective.
You're just a
I've
person.
been told I'm emotionally
A complicated,
unavailable.
interesting
And
person.
Victoria wasn't
In
wrong.
that moment,
I don't usually date
Alexander knew
outside
he
my
wanted to
social
kiss
circle.
her. But
which
he
means
also
I
knew
might
it was too
accidentally
soon,
offend your friends
that
by having
rushing
too
would
much
risk
money.
ruining something that felt fragile
My friends
and
are all
precious.
broke journalists.
Instead, he took her hand
They'll
and
definitely
raised it
be
to his
offended by
lips,
your money.
pressing a gentle kiss
I'll
to
win
her
them
knuckles.
over with my charm.
Good night, Olivia, he
You
said
think you're
softly.
charming.
Drive safely.
You're still holding
the
my
surprise
hand.
and warmth in Olivia's eyes
Madison
told him
looked
he'd
down.
made the right choice.
She was,
Good night,
indeed,
Alexander,
still holding his hand.
she replied, her
More
voice
surprisingly,
just above a whisper.
she didn't want to
As
let
he watched
go.
her drive away,
This is crazy,
Alexander felt
she said
a
for what
lightness in
felt
his
like the
chest that he
100th
hadn't
time.
experienced in years.
The best things
For the
usually
first time
are.
in a long time, he was
Over the
looking
next 2
forward to
hours,
tomorrow.
they talked about
Over the next
everything
few
and
weeks,
nothing.
Alexander and Olivia continued
Ryan told
to
her
see
about
each
growing
other.
up in Boston,
They had dinner
about
at
his
small,
parents,
out-of-the-way restaurants.
disappointment when he
They
dropped
went
out of
for
Harvard
walks
to
in the
start his
park.
company.
They talked for hours
Madison
about
shared stories
everything
from
and nothing.
journalism school,
Alexander
the
had
terrible
stopped ordering
apartments
from
she'd lived
homemade
in
for
while
lunch.
interning,
It felt
the
too
rush
much
of her
like an
first
exploitation
front-page
of his
byline.
position. But he
I
found
have a
other
meeting
ways
at
to
10,
see Olivia.
Ryan said
He scheduled
reluctantly,
their
checking
meetings
his
around
watch.
her complex work
I have an
schedule,
interview at
never
10:30.
pressuring her when she couldn't
Neither
make
moved.
time for him. And
Dinner
gradually,
tonight?
their
He asked.
relationship deepened.
I'm working on a
Their
story.
first real kiss happened on a rainy evening
Might
as
run late.
Alexander walked Olivia
I'll
to her
wait.
door after dinner. It
Ryan,
was gentle and tentative
Madison.
at first, then
He squeezed her
passionate and
hand.
consuming,
I know we're
leaving them
both scared.
breathless.
I know we've
I
both
should
been
go
hurt.
inside.
But I meant what
Olivia
I
had
said last
whispered
night.
against his lips.
This feels
I
real.
know,
More real than
Alexander had
anything I've
replied.
had in a long
but
time.
neither of them had moved for
She
a
thought
long
about all
moment.
the reasons
It
to
was
say
Olivia
no.
who finally
The
pulled
trust
away.
issues,
Jamie's
the
waiting
class
for me,
difference,
she'd
the
said,
speed at which this
bringing
was all
reality
happening.
back into focus.
Then she thought
Alexander
about
had
dancing in
nodded,
his arms,
respecting
feeling
her
like she'd
boundaries.
finally found
When
where
can
she
I
fit.
meet him? He'd asked.
Antonio's at
surprising
8,
himself with the
she
question.
suggested.
The surprise
You can
had
try
been
the
mirrored on
carbonara.
Olivia's face.
His smile
You
could have
want to meet
powered the
Jamie?
entire city.
Of course,
It's a date.
Alexander had said.
This time when they
He's
parted,
important to you,
Ryan kissed
which
her
means
properly.
he's important to
Not
me
on
too.
the cheek,
The
not
following
hesitant,
weekend,
but full and sure.
Alexander met
right
Jamie
there in the
for
middle
the
of
first
Starbucks.
time. They went
Madison's
to the science
knees actually
museum
went
that
weak,
Jamie had been
which
wanting
she'd
to
thought
visit,
only happened
and
in romance
Alexander had
novels.
found himself
I'm
genuinely
going to be
enjoying
thinking
the
about that all
9-year-old's
day,
enthusiasm
he
and
murmured
intelligent
against her
question.
lips.
Mom says you're a tech guy,
Good.
Jamie had said
She walked
as they
to work in
stood
a
in front of
daze,
an exhibit
touching
on
her
space
lips
exploration.
occasionally like a
Do you
teenager.
think people will live
Her
on
colleague
Mars
Jake
someday?
noticed immediately.
I think they might.
You got
Alexander
laid.
had replied.
I got kissed.
Maybe even in your
By
lifetime.
who? When?
Cool.
Details,
Jamie
Brooks.
had said, his eyes
But Madison
wide
just
with wonder.
smiled and opened her
I want
laptop.
to be an astronaut
She
when
had
I
a
grow
corruption
up.
story to
Or
finish.
maybe a chef
And
like
tonight,
Mom.
she had a
Or
date with a
maybe
man
both.
who'd started as
The
pretend
first
and
chef
become
in
something
space.
real.
Alexander
The day
had
crawled
laughed,
and flew
charmed
simultaneously.
by the boy's ambition. I think that sounds
Her
like
interview
an
subject
excellent
was
plan.
40 minutes late. Her editor wanted revisions on 3 different pieces, and she spilled, ironically, coffee all over her desk. But at 7:45, she was walking into Antonio's, and there was Ryan at a corner table, looking unfairly handsome in a navy sweater. "You're early again," she said. Still nervous, he admitted, standing to pull out her chair. "Why?" "Because this matters." The simplicity of it, the honesty, made her throat tight. Dinner was perfect. They shared the carbonara. He agreed it was life-changing. Argued playfully about Chicago versus Boston pizza, and discovered a mutual obsession with true crime podcasts. Serial Season 1, Madison said firmly. Overrated. Season 3 was better journalism. But Season 1 had the narrative drive. They were still debating when the restaurant started closing around them. "Walk me home," Madison asked. They strolled through Lincoln Park, the October night crisp but beautiful. Ryan caught her when she tripped over uneven pavement. Those damned heels from the wedding had given her blisters. And somehow they ended up holding hands again. "I don't usually do this," Madison said as they reached her building. "What? Date? Trust?" She looked up at him. "But something about you makes me want to try." "I promise," Ryan said seriously. "I will never give you a reason not to trust me. I know words are cheap, but—" Madison silenced him with a kiss. This one was different from the morning, deeper, hungrier, full of promise. "Come up," she whispered. Ryan groaned. "You're killing me." But no, not tonight. She pulled back, hurt flashing across her face. "Hey." He caught her chin gently. "I want to. God, I want to. But when we do this, I want it to be because we're ready, not because we're caught up in the moment." I want to do this right. Madison. Since when do relationships that start with fake dating at weddings follow any rules? Since I realized I could fall in love with you. The words hung in the air like suspended fireworks. Ryan. I know it's too soon to say that. I know. But Madison, I've been successful at everything except the things that matter. I don't want to fuck this up by moving too fast physically when we're still figuring out the emotional part. Madison stared at him. Are you real? Like, actually real? Because men like you don't exist. Men like me are usually assholes, he agreed, but you make me want to be better. She kissed him again, soft and sweet. Friday night. My cousin's having a party for everyone who couldn't make the wedding. Come with me. As your real boyfriend this time. As my whatever this is. I'll take it. The week that followed was a delicious torture of texts, stolen lunch dates, and late-night phone calls. Madison found herself smiling at her phone like an idiot. Jake threatened to confiscate it if she didn't focus on their investigation. But focus was hard when Ryan sent texts like, thought of you when I saw someone spill coffee on themselves. Bored meeting boring. Wish you were here to threaten someone with fraud charges. Can't stop thinking about that kiss. By Friday, Madison was ready to crawl out of her skin with anticipation. She actually left work on time, shocking everyone. I'm going to meet him, aren't I? Claire said, attacking Madison's hair with a curling iron. The mysterious Ryan. It's my cousin's party. Everyone will be there. But I'm your roommate. I get special best friend interrogation privileges. Madison was saved from responding by her phone buzzing. Ryan was downstairs. He was leaning against a black Audi, looking like every fantasy she'd never admitted to having. Dark jeans, a black Henley that clung to his chest, and that damned smile. You look beautiful, he said, taking in her red dress. You look like trouble. Only the good kind. The drive to her cousin's house in the suburbs was filled with easy conversation and Ryan's hand on her knee whenever he didn't need it to shift gears. Madison found herself covering it with her own, marveling at how natural it felt. The party was already in full swing when they arrived. Isabel, back from her honeymoon and glowing, squealed when she saw them. You came, together. This is so perfect. How was Maui? Madison asked, accepting a glass of wine. Amazing. But tell me everything. Aunt Pat said you two disappeared for like an hour at the reception. We were getting air. Sure you were. Isabel winked, then dragged them further into the party. Madison introduced Ryan to what felt like hundreds of relatives, each more intrusive than the last. He handled them all with grace, even when her Uncle Tony started grilling him about his intentions. Madison's special, Tony said, clearly a few beers in. You hurt her. We hurt you. Tony, Madison protested. No, it's fair, Ryan said seriously. Madison is special, and if I hurt her, I deserve whatever you did to me. Tony blinked, then clapped Ryan on the shoulder hard enough to make him step back. I like this one, Maddie. Keep him. I'm trying to, she muttered, then blushed when Ryan heard her. They escaped to the backyard, where Claire immediately pounced. So you're the famous Ryan, and you're the roommate with interrogation privileges. Claire's eyes widened. She told you about that. She tells me most things. He pulled Madison against his side. It's one of my favorite things about her. Smooth, Claire noted. Very smooth. Claire, Madison warned. What? I'm just saying, he's very smooth, and very pretty, and clearly very into you, so I guess I approve. I'm so glad, Madison said dryly. The night progressed with more drinking, more laughing, more of Ryan charming everyone in sight. Even Madison's most skeptical relatives were won over when he helped Grandma Rose with her phone and listened attentively to her stories about the old neighborhood. He's a keeper, Rose told Madison loudly. Good bones, Nice hands. Will give you beautiful babies. Grandma. What? I'm old. I can say whatever I want. Ryan was suspiciously red but laughing as Madison dragged him away. I'm so sorry. Your family's incredible, he said, meaning it. Mine are all proper, restrained. This is chaos, but it's warm chaos. That's one way to describe it. They found themselves back where it all started, alone on a relative's outdoor terrace, fairy lights creating magic in the darkness. Thank you, Madison said, for coming, for being perfect with everyone. Thank you for letting me. He pulled her close. For giving us, a chance. It's only been a week. The best week, she laughed. We're those people, aren't we? The ones who meet and instantly fall in love. The word hung between them, heavy with possibility. Is that what this is? Madison whispered. What else could it be? Ryan's hand came up to cup her face. Madison, I've dated models, heiresses, women my parents handpicked. None of them made me feel a fraction of what you do. Ryan, you don't have to say it back. I just need you to know. I'm falling in love with you. Have been since you threatened Victoria at the wedding. Madison's heart was racing so fast she thought it might escape. That's a very specific moment. You were magnificent, fierce, protective of someone you'd just met. He smiled. That's when I knew you were different, special. I'm just a journalist with trust issues and a coffee addiction. You're brave and brilliant and beautiful. He kissed her forehead. And you make me want to be better than I am. You're already pretty great, Madison admitted. Even if you are stupidly rich. The money doesn't matter. Easy to say when you have it. Then I'll give it all away. Start over. Prove it means nothing compared to you. Madison pulled back to look at his face. He was serious. Completely, insanely serious. Don't you dare, she said firmly. That money funds, scholarships and charities and probably a bunch of other things you haven't told me about yet. Some other things, he admitted. So keep it. Use it. Just don't let it be the thing between us. Never. They kissed there on the terrace, deep and slow, while the party continued below. Madison felt like she was floating, like she'd left her body and was watching from above. Was this her life? This perfect man? This perfect moment? Get a room! Isabel shouted from below. They broke apart, laughing. Want to get out of here? Ryan asked. Yes. They said their goodbyes, Madison's relatives all insisting Ryan come to Thanksgiving, Christmas, and possibly every family event for the rest of time, and escaped to his car. Your place or mine? Ryan asked. Madison's heart hammered. Yours. I've never seen it. His penthouse was exactly what she'd expected, and nothing like it at all. Yes, it was massive, with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing Chicago's skyline. But it was also warm, lived in, with books everywhere and what looked like a half-completed puzzle on the coffee table. Chester, she asked, remembering he'd mentioned a dog. As if summoned, a golden retriever bounded out, tail wagging furiously. Chester, meet Madison. Madison, Chester. The dog immediately tried to climb into her lap, despite being roughly the size of a small pony. He likes you, Ryan said unnecessarily, as Chester licked her face. He's perfect. Madison buried her face in the dog's fur, using the moment to calm her nerves. She was in Ryan's apartment. They were alone, except for the dog, and the way he was looking at her. Wine, Ryan offered. Water. Awkward small talk while we both pretend we're not thinking about the bedroom. Madison laughed, the tension breaking. Wine, and maybe medium talk. Save the small talk for later. He poured them both glasses of something that probably cost more than her rent, and they settled on his massive couch, Chester between them like a furry chaperone. Tell me something else Google doesn't know, Madison said. I'm terrified of this. This. You. Us. How fast it's moving. How much I already need you. He took a sip of wine. I'm not good at vulnerable, Madison. Victoria used to say I was emotionally constipated. Charming. But accurate. I've built walls since my brother died. It was easier than feeling things. And now there's you, and the walls don't work. You walk right through them like they're not even there. Madison set down her wine and crawled over Chester to straddle Ryan's lap. His hands immediately went to her waist, steadying her. I'm scared too, she admitted. But maybe that's okay. Maybe being scared means it matters. It matters, he said roughly. You matter. She kissed him, pouring everything she couldn't say into it. He responded instantly, one hand tangling in her hair, the other pulling her impossibly closer. Madison, he groaned against her mouth. We should stop talking, she commanded, then bit his lower lip. His control snapped. In one fluid motion, he stood, lifting her with him. Madison wrapped her legs around his waist, still kissing him as he carried her to his bedroom. Later, much later, they lay tangled together, Madison tracing patterns on Ryan's chest while he played with her hair. So, she said, that happened. That definitely happened. No regrets? He tilted her chin up to look at him. My only regret is that we didn't meet sooner. If we'd met sooner, we might not have been ready. I wasn't ready a month ago, he admitted. Victoria broke something in me. But you're fixing it. Or maybe not fixing it, but making it not matter that it's broken. Madison kissed him softly. We're both a little broken. Maybe that's why we fit. They talked until dawn, about everything and nothing. Ryan told her about the company he wanted to build, the legacy he wanted to leave. Madison shared her dreams of investigative work that actually changed things, made differences. We could do it together, Ryan said sleepily. You investigate corruption, I'll fund the legal battles that follow. A power couple fighting crime? Something like that. Madison smiled against his chest. A week ago, she'd been alone at a wedding, miserable and resigned to her single status. Now she was in bed with a man who looked at her like she hung the moon. Ryan. I'm falling in love with you too. His arms tightened around her. Yeah. They fell asleep as the sun rose, Chester sneaking onto the bed to curl up at their feet. And Madison thought that maybe, just maybe, fairy tales were real after all. 3 months later, Madison stood in the Starbucks on LaSalle, waiting for her cold brew and watching Ryan across the shop, taking a call. They'd maintained their morning coffee tradition, except now they shared a booth. Her phone buzzed. Jake, where are you? We got the documents on the Sinclair Foundation. Madison's heart leaped. Be there in 20. She caught Ryan's eye, held up her phone. He smiled and nodded, understanding immediately. This was their life now. Him supporting her investigations, her attending his business events. It shouldn't work, but it did. I love you, he mouthed across the coffee shop. I love you too, she mouthed back, not caring who saw, because sometimes the best love stories started with a whisper. Sometimes they started with a stranger at a wedding saying 7 words that changed everything. Pretend you're with me, just for tonight. Except now, Madison didn't have to pretend anymore. This was real. They were real. And it was absolutely perfect. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss another tale of unexpected love. Drop a comment below. What would you rate this story out of 10? And remember, sometimes the best relationships start when we're brave enough to say yes to the unexpected. Until next time.